Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann, and it's just me. And let's talk about my favorite Minnesota Congresswoman, Ilhan Omar.
Stupid bitch.
Not this time are we talking about how she once said in a video that we should all be more fearful of the white man, and then when questioned about it, denying it. Not this time are we talking about the suspected marriage fraud where they say they've disproven it, but I'm not so sure, where she may or may not have wedded her own sibling to help get them citizenship. Not this time are we talking about Somali fraudsters that she has personal ties to. We're also not going to talk about the winery that her third husband owns that technically isn't up and running and seems like a fucking scam used to launder money. But maybe we'll touch upon that. No, what I want to talk about is how this crooked, self-righteous cunt who hates America is backtracking on the information about her finances. Now, if you've paid attention, her net worth jumped from very little, tens of thousands, to roughly 30 million in the span of a couple years. And there are questions as of, where did the money come from? How did you get such an inflation in wealth? Is it because she married a guy that works for hedge fund financing? Perhaps, but him having other people's money to play with doesn't count towards their net worth. No, she had her net worth jump like fucking 3,500% is the number I keep hearing. I haven't checked the math, but I'm going to go with that because it seems a pretty consistent thing that other people are saying. So that $30 million number, now she comes back and says this year, no, that was a mistake. I'm only worth $18,000 to $95,000, which let's look at that. That's quite a range. You don't know if you are worth one number or 77,000 more. Like, why is she allowed to have such unnecessary wiggle room in this when talking about how much money her and her husband have? It boggles my mind. If I did that shit, I'd get a visit from the fucking IRS and possibly the FBI. I'd get audited out my ass, and there'd be a forensic accounting of all of my monies and things that I own. And you know what they'd see? That I have way too many wrestling action figures and a ginormous CD collection. Her, on the other hand, we can't explain what this net worth is or where it went. But now, to go from 40,000 or some shit like that to 30 million, back down to 18 to 95,000, she's calling it a clerical error in accounting. And I have to believe that she has brain damage if she thinks that anyone's buying that. How do you go an entire calendar year declaring your potential net worth as being upwards of 30 million before you have somebody looking and go, that was a whoopsie. Yeah, did you forget to carry the one somewhere? Or are you now trying to send assets out of country to family members or other people? Or were you using your husband's winery to fucking launder stolen money from tax fraud scams that you got from other people that you helped them get it? Because we've all assumed that she's a part of this massive scale fraud in Minnesota. We've all assumed that she's helping people get money that they don't deserve and then getting a kickback. And the same goes for Keith Ellison, who met with some of those fraudsters. The same goes for fucking dipshit Governor Retard Walz, Tampon Timmy. I mean, how much fucking chicanery is there going to be before somebody forces one of these fuckers to step down? Now, I know they tried to get impeachment going on Walz and Ellison, but it got voted down by the Democrats, who don't see this as serving the citizens of Minnesota as much as partisan loyalty issues.
Fuck you!
And I have to believe she's not just going to come clean about anything. You're going to have to possibly waterboard the fucking answers out of her because she's so tight-lipped and thinks that she's going to get away with it, that she has this sense of grandiosity about it that is just fucking sickening if you have any moral compass whatsoever. She is self-centered and full of shit and loves to peacock around like she doesn't smell like frankincense and ass like the rest of them. Maybe it's the marrying of a white man that makes her feel like she no longer is at the low levels of the bananas and rice crowd. I don't know. But somebody that works for the government, that is an elected official, that has that big of a jump and then that big of a downtrend in their net worth, well, having not sold off anything that is discernible in terms of major pieces of property or interests in business or anything like that. And then they're going to call it an accounting error.
Oh, really?
Now, I've had accountants do my taxes in the past. I've never had one completely fuck up and jump my net worth by like 4 or 5 decimal points. It'd be nice, but that's never happened to me. Now, I'm reading comments on the story that Tom Emmer is calling her out. Tom Emmer is kind of a douchebag, but, lately with the fraud thing, he's redeemed himself in my eyes. And I hate to keep agreeing with Minnesota Republican representatives, but they're just making so much fucking sense due to the loony left and the woke scolds being so far up our asses with the get on the pronoun bus and trans women are women and all of that fucking, oh, it's not all of them. Oh, don't be racist. Don't talk about the Somalis and the fraud. How dare you fucking make them feel bad about what they're obviously doing in plain sight and don't give a fuck if they get caught. Jesus Christ.
Hadouken!
So when I alluded to the comments I was reading, somebody had one that I thought was pretty interesting, and I didn't even think of it at first. I was like, oh shit, that's fucking smart. This person asked, did she obtain any financing under the inflated valuation? Meaning, did having her net worth jump cause her to look like she had more on paper than she did, and then she used that as leverage for loans, for any sort of business interest purchasing? Like, what else is going on here? Because it can't just be that she's lying about how much money she has and that she's now laundered it out of the country in suitcases full of cash through Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport off to fucking Somaliland. There's no way that it's just, oh, hey, tens of millions of dollars all got inside of a couple of attaché bags and then got flown to fucking Mogadishu. We're beyond that at this point. So what is going on with her? And why is nobody instantly jumping to fry her ass for this questionable and clear discrepancy? I doubt you're going to get any Democrats in the state of Minnesota to say, let's investigate Ilhan Omar, because they'll be afraid of being called disloyal to the party and racist for coming after her. But in reality, you should be doing that regardless of party affiliation or her skin color. And she's Somali, which is a nationality, not a skin color. You're not doing it because she's brown. You're doing it because she's Somali. And a lot of the fraudsters are Somali, and she's got ties to them. So you're doing it because guilt by association equals you need to be under the microscope. At least in my opinion. And I have a background in law enforcement and correction, so I feel like I know what the fuck I'm talking about when I'm pointing fingers. You're also not going to get anybody that is going to make an honest effort to get the FBI involved, although they should. And if drunk asshole frat boy Kash Patel can stop making owl faces in the mirror at himself every morning when he combs his hair long enough to assign some agents to look into this shit, I think you're going to find some very curious things going on with her and her husband's bank accounts and personal holdings. What you're not going to find is nothing. This is not a red herring. And for anyone to think that they could go from virtually nothing to 30 million and from 30 million to, let's just round it out at 50,000, somewhere's in the middle of 18 to 95, $50,000. Look at that substantial gain and then drop. What the fuck happened? And why do you think that you're just going to say that and everyone's going to buy it? Do you think that everyone is that foolish that they're just going to go with whatever the fuck you say on this and not want to look into it more? And even though your party and your constituents might not be interested in frying one of their own under the heat lamp of an investigation, they need to be doing this because they are elected by the citizens of this state, expected to look after the interests of the citizens of this state. And if trying to suss out if one of your party members and another representative that you work with is up to no good, i.e. criminal activity, possibly international criminal activity, you should be trying to do everything in your fucking heart to get as many people to get on board with this as possible. And if she sits there and points the finger and calls you racist, boo fucking who? Who cares? Their words, they mean nothing. Just because she says it doesn't mean it's fucking true. And she's just going to sit there and take desperate swipes while she falls to the mat. Think of it like a boxing metaphor. This bitch is about to lay down and stare up at the lights for a 10 count. I don't know how she gets out of this one, because the Republicans are going to be on her like stink on shit. And they're going to probably try to get a few people from the left to join in. You won't get Walls to say, I think that we should look into Representative Omar and see what's going on, and you're not going to get Keith Ellison like, hey, this bitch might be up to something. When I'm done hanging out with all my old gang homies, I think I might look into that some. Have you guys tried Old English? It's pretty bomb. Or at least that's how I think that he talks. I don't know. He's a fucking jagoff. To get results in this matter, you're going to have to go outside the state. It's going to have to come from the federal level, because that way, if somebody from the right tries to arouse suspicion and call for action, the left can't try to vote it down or interfere or block it. So if it comes from some federal agency, the FBI, the IRS, if the president of all people for some reason decides to look into it, that'd be super fucking cool, because I'd love to know what's going on. I'm still waiting for all the fraud money to be found and given back to us so that you can give us refund checks and then I can use it to buy groceries because we're all fucking drowning from the cost of inflation and Trump's dumb shit tariffs jacking up what it costs to fucking buy food. But he's too busy pretending that this war that he's got going on in Iran is justifiable and not totally a distraction from the Epstein files. Iran is bad. They're very evil people. They're terrorists. They want to kill everything. They want to kill you. They want to kill me. They want to kill Kid Rock. He's a friend of mine. I like him. Ba-wa-ta-ba. Holy shit. Go out, buy a Dodge Ram Trump edition. Please, right now, stimulate the economy. Iran bad. I never had sex with any teenage girls on the island. Now, if you're wondering what mechanism may be in place for them to go after her, that would be Article 1, Section 5, Clause 2 of the U.S. Constitution, stating that it empowers each House of Congress to determine its own rules for proceedings and punish members for disorderly behavior and expel a member with a two-thirds vote, known as the Rules of Proceedings and Expulsion Clauses. It ensures internal disciplinary control and operational autonomy, allowing for sanctions such as censure or reprimand. So that would be if, on a federal level, you got enough people from across the aisle to reach to the right and say, yes, let's do this shit. But again, as much as I wish that it would be involved federally, there's no guarantee that it's actually going to take place, because they're going to find some reason to declare that it's a witch hunt, and there's already people like, nah, this never happened. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just going after her further because you're prejudiced against her. And to that I have to say,
Uh-oh, retard alert!
Because she filed the paperwork, then she admitted to the mistake, and then there's the amended version. All of that's on file. That's the smoking gun. So then the question becomes, what's really going on? And I've told you, I speculate what's up with her sending money back to Somalia. I would hate to think that she's directly funding al-Shabaab in Somalia so that they can overthrow the fucking UN government that's in place there, or worse off, try to buy means for people to come to the U.S. to partake in terror attacks. And I'm not outright calling her a terrorist, but she's from a country that's full of terrorists and has an entire terrorist faction trying to overthrow the government, which is the reason for the continuing civil war in that fucking country. Look it up. The Horn of Africa on the East Coast is just a shit show. Criminality, piracy, crooked politicians. You never know what's really going on. And as we've said on this show, and they've said a lot in the media, there's plenty of proof to suggest that money that was stolen from Minnesota taxpayers via these fraud schemes and money that's wired legitimately back to Somalia ends up in the hands of al-Shabaab. So you can say what you want, but directly and indirectly, Minnesota's taxpayers are funding terrorism overseas in Africa. And you never know. It could be Ilhan Omar trying to scheme ways to get money from international banks. It could be from outside the U.S. where she's using her inflated net worth to get some dough to bankroll some shit overseas, or who knows what the fuck is going on. I feel like we're going to get a grand reveal that she's like this James Bond-esque level of supervillain, and she's just not this down-home, aw shucks, came to America to live the dream, and I speak for truth and power and represent people that have been othered, because she's a crooked piece of shit. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is, at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann. And that's the end.